All right, joining me right now is Olympic silver medalist, yada 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 yada, Rai Benjamin. And I guess I have to ask you a couple of questions about running just to kick things off, but that's not why I wanted to talk to you today. So I guess how's off season going? But
It's been
we're December now.
yeah, it's December now. It's been great. Just really in the thick of it, to be honest with you. So just trying to keep my head down,
Yeah,
uh, going through that. So, but it's been pretty good so far.
you
It's
got
been
a new training partner.
yes, I
How's
do.
how's having Fred around?
It's you know, at first it was exciting. I mean, it still is exciting. Reality is, I mean, Fred and I did a workout together last week, actually. So that was a lot of fun. But reality is, he's running the 100, and I'm running the 400 hurdle. So very rarely do we come together, but I think more as the workouts are starting to progress throughout the entirety of the year, and we kind of step down and get that speed in, we'll kind of get together here a little bit.
So you're officially a volunteer assistant on the team as well. Like,
Not
is Fred?
anymore.
Did Fred get that nod? Or
Not
you're
not not anymore. I think here, because it's an Olympic year, you get an Olympic exception. So if you look at the roster, I think because of NCAA rules, you're not allowed to have volunteer coaches anymore.
okay?
So yeah, well, you just get like an Olympic exemption from compliance. It's a whole thing, to be honest. But it's
So
fun though. It's fun having him out there. The energy is great. I mean, everyone's just working relentlessly. So, with him, Mike, me, Isaiah, a couple of the college guys that are expected to do well this year. Like it's just, yeah, it's crazy sometimes.
it's a long year though. So I mean, all right. The thing that blew my mind and why I said we got to talk is
Yeah.
the non-traditional approach you take to the off season. I mean, when you race hard, you race seriously. You're just
Yeah.
telling me you're not going home for Christmas because training's taken over. Like
Yeah.
you're all in.
Yeah. I'm all in
This
100%.
this off season though, I see a guy pop up on my Strava who I would not expect to be on Strava at all, doing an activity I would not expect to do at all. But then it turns out, I guess you kind of like told Chris this after pre
Yeah, I
that you had
did.
a big purchase on the horizon.
Yeah.
So walk me through, why did you get a bike and how did this come about?
So I've always wanted a bike, to be honest with you. And my agent's always just like, nah, like you're not getting on a bike. Just go sit down. And he cycles quite a bit, to be honest with you. So I was just really committed. Taking trips back and forth to Germany. Ended up like walking through Munich and saw this bike shop, and I was like, dude, like I'm gonna buy a bike. And he was like, don't freaking buy a bike. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. And he was like, don't do it. And he was like, wait till after you get done this year, see how things go, and see how you feel from there. So fast forward, still have the little bike bug, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So finally got the go ahead. Coach Hayes said it was cool. Coach Watts was cool with it, so I went ahead and bought the bike. And at first, I didn't know. My plan was to go back east and do it. And what happened was I ended up going to Rafa down in Santa Monica to get, because they sell bike bibs and jerseys and what like that. Anything
You
it's
just
like
walked in.
I just
Did they know who you are? Did anyone recognize you at some point?
no recognize me whatsoever, which is like kind of a good thing living out here in California, because it's like so many celebrities and athletes out here. Like it's hard to tell who's who and gain that recognition as opposed to living in a small town. But walking to Rafa, and I was like, "Hey man, like looking to get some cycling gear." Told him I've never cycled before, and he was just like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, this is just an off-season thing for me, and I run track professionally." And he was like, "Wait, we got a guy here that ran track at UCLA who cycles now. His name was Jelani Davis." So went got bought the gear, went back the next day, chopped it up with him a little bit. And at this point, my bike was getting assembled at Specialized.
Also, like not an entry level bike.
Yeah, definitely
You
not.
dove all
Yeah,
the way in.
yeah. So when I told them, they were like, "Oh, what kind of bike did you get?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got an S Works SL8." And they were just like, "Wait, what?" They're like, you just literally started cycling and got like the Ferrari of all bikes." And I was like, you know what? Like I didn't really think of it that way, but yeah. So I got a pretty fast bike, and everyone loves the bike, especially in the cycling community. So met up with him. Uh,
Did you
then went
fall
on a ride
first?
up.
Did you fall clipping in the
I
first
was
time?
so this is what happened. It was so funny. I'm riding on San Vicente, and at this point, I'm telling everyone like, "Yo, I'm not gonna fall. Like, I'm an athlete. I know how to click in. I know how to clip out. Like, it's fine." So I'm trying to be cool, and I'm trying to do like an indoor like stance, like without clipping out at a red light in Brentwood. And this other guy is like right next to me, and I freaking lost balance and just went down in the middle of the street.
My Ferrari.
Yeah, and got up, and it was just like I wasn't embarrassed, but
Happens.
I was like, I'll never see these people ever again. But it was just like, dang, like I could have just clipped out and been normal and been fine. And as I'm riding, the dude's asking me like, "Hey, are you okay?" And then on top of that, he goes, "Wait, aren't you Rai Benjamin?" And I was like, "What the hell? This is crazy." But yeah, I fell doing trying to be cool at a light in front of everyone. But no, it was fun. And then that week met Justin Williams.
Okay, so I was gonna ask how you linked up with the Legion guys. For track fans listening, Legion is like the top US crit team out there.
Yeah.
And the Williams brothers are they probably make some of the coolest content in cycling on
Yeah.
YouTube. Some good inspiration for track out there. But yeah, so how did this come about that you met these guys?
So my friend Jelani was like, "Yeah, I'm cool with Justin and all those guys, and they all ride together." So he invited me out for a ride with all like it was like a Saturday coffee ride. So I ended up being late, but I met up with them, and they just happened to be doing extra credit that day. And for people who don't know, extra credits like after the main ride, you go and do a longer ride. So we ended up all getting coffee at Blue Bottle. Met Justin, super cool guy. Met a couple of the other guys, Mark, who's also at Rafa as well too, and Jelani was there, and other guy Dominique and Dante Williams as well too, who also rides for Miami Blazers, which is another crit team as well. And we just mobbed PCH, man. Like we rode from Santa Monica all the way past Pepperdine and just kept going and turned around at a gas station and came right back. So I think we ended up doing like I think about 50 miles that day. And that was like my first like ever like real ride. Like just cranked out 50 miles and everyone was just like, "Oh man, like you did better than we thought you would, for your first time being on a bike." And I was just like, "Yeah, man, I'm an athlete." Like, would you, but it was it was it was great because I got to learn something different and do something different because sometimes like the sport kind of gets monotonous, and gets kind of boring, and just challenging myself down a different alley, down a different, avenue was just a blessing in disguise to kind of just get away from the running and whatnot. And also just finding a hobby. Like,
Yeah.
like whenever people ask me like, "Oh, what do you do outside of just track? Like, what do you do when you get home? Like, do you do anything for fun?" Like my answer is always, "Nah, not really. I just kind of get home, play Warzone." And like after a while, it gets kind of like, it gets kind of weird telling other people that like I go home and play video games like
Now you got
on
something.
yeah, as a hobby. And like now I have like a hobby where I mean it's more guarded now. Like I can't just get on the bike and go. I gotta like kind of be like, "Hey coach, like does it make sense for me to ride the bike this week and whatnot?" So we've been doing a good job like placing it here and there and doing certain things. And sometimes like if it makes sense, I'll go and do like a short 30-minute ride, but I'm not doing like those long rides like I was doing in the off season for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, all right, so I have so many questions. I mean, first off, like the something that's really cool about the Legion guys is like the diversity initiative of what they do. And like I don't know if you want to speak to that, but like not a lot of black guys ride
Yeah.
bikes for 3 hours like you were
Right.
doing. Like that's a unique aspect, let
Right.
alone doing it as a sprinter. That's something that, you know,
Yeah.
coming
I got
like
a comment on my Instagram. He like one kid was like, how does it make sense to ride on your bike, ride that amount of miles for like 3 hours? And I, it's, it's not, you're not necessarily doing it to get better. It's a, like, cause you're not riding that bike for that long, you know, neurologically, like it's just not going to work. It's a whole entirely different energy system, muscle grouping, just positioning on the bike. Like
yeah,
riding a bike for X amount of hours does not equate to running fast because realistically, you're only working in like zone two, zone three, especially when you're going on those very, very long rides. Like you're just working that endurance zone. So it was more so just a, stay in shape kind of thing, not like
yeah.
sit on for 6 weeks and not do anything and then come back feeling sore. But pivoting back to your question about, their whole initiative, I mean, most of the guys that I ride with, they are, because there are not a lot of black cyclists that ride, obviously. So, Justin's whole thing is about getting, more, black people on bikes and just people on bikes in general. But it was just awesome because I've never met these guys before, and they knew nothing about me, and it was just completely welcoming, and everyone was like completely friendly. It's a great community, no matter if you know the person or not. Like everyone wants to help out, everyone wants to invite you to these social rides and whatnot. So it was great. Like getting on, like you kind of get, it's more so you're not addicted to the riding, it's more of a being in the setting with multiple people.
Yeah, it's unique and totally
Yeah.
different than running as well.
Yeah.
Because you can stop for a coffee, get back on the
Right.
bike. You can stop for a beer and a pizza and
Yeah.
get back on the bike. And
Right.
it's
And be
not
fun.
about exercise necessarily. Like your exercise, you're burning calories, but it's just a social thing, and you're hanging out
Right.
with a huge group of cyclists. Just like what if we go over there next? And you just
Right. Yeah.
it's the best way to spend 5 hours.
It is. It definitely is. And I mean, they're in their off season now, so they're doing the longer rides, which in essence is fine. But when they start actually working out, like actually doing like intervals on the bike itself, like I'm just like, okay. Because my friend Jelani, call him Lonnie, he was that ride that we went to Santa Monica the second time. He was doing a workout, and I tried to stay on his wheel, and I stayed on for about 5-10 minutes, and it was just wraps. Like it's just completely, you think you're a good runner, but when you get on that bike, it's a completely different beast. And like I said, completely different energy system. Like it takes a lot to actually be a great cyclist.
So
From
could you? Could you be like what was
I
your
think in the
strength?
next I think in the next, if I really took it seriously, for the next 3 years, I could probably be really, really good on the bike.
You think crit?
Even like I rode with Colleen one time, and
Yeah, okay. Tell me about Colleen
Colleen
Quigley, of course.
Colleen dropped me on Mandeville Hill, and it was supposed to be an easy ride, and I felt confident, and I was like way ahead of them, and they catch up to me, and they were just like, "Oh, so you want to like actually ride?" And I was like, "Yeah, like why not?" Stayed on her wheel, on his wheel, Colleen's wheel, and my other friend's wheel for like about 4 or 5 minutes, and they were just out of sight. And I was just like, "What the hell?" Like Colleen's actually really a really good climber on the bike, given she's just transitioning to that. But I think if I really took it seriously, like actually like had a in the next 2 to 3 years of actual like riding every day, I think I'll be really good at it.
Like velodrome style sprinting, like did that convert well? Obviously, you can get around a 400
Yeah,
meter
but
track
that's
well.
like, oh, that's a different beast. That's like, putting out 1,000 watts, 1,200 watts. at any given moment for, you know, 15, 20, 30 seconds at a time. That's a lot of power. And I'm tall
Yeah.
and so it's not, I'm not really built for velodrome, but I mean, I can ride for 70, 80 miles on a bike.
All right. So then the natural follow-up question
Yeah.
is this convert in any way to potential 800 at some point? Like
I knew it was coming.
most 400 guys wouldn't be able to, at least in
Oh,
my mind, wouldn't be able to do that. And
yeah, most people won't, but for me, it's just the 800 is just that. Yeah, no, man, I
you
can't do
could
it.
if you wanted.
If I wanted to, I could.
Yeah.
If I really wanted to, I think seriously, like if I seriously ran at 8, I could probably run 144. But I mean, it's like that's not gonna win anything today, to be honest with you. But
You could win some like California State meet or something for sure
yeah,
with
you
that.
probably could, yeah, with that
Yeah.
time. But I mean, like, there's no 800 in my future. It's just the training. I've seen the training for it, and it's just not fun. And
So
I hopped in with Isaiah on a couple workouts, and it's a different level of lactic threshold than running the four for sure.
so
And I
cycling really into the data. I've heard you kind of like touch on a few of the, you're talking zones, you're talking power. Is that like a pretty intriguing part, or like
it
did you get
is.
into that side of things at all? I mean, you don't get that much feedback as you would in
Yeah, I mean,
your everyday
well,
practice.
yeah, you don't, and especially running track, like you don't. A it's not a statistics game with track. With cycling, it is where
Yeah.
you can measure heart rate, be in certain zones, the amount of wattage that you're outputting, your weight to wattage ratio. All that stuff is important. How aero you are on the bike, and I think that all comes down to equipment. Like we don't use there's no we're not using a piece of equipment for track. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it maybe in the future, in the near future, our shoes will be able to tell us, exactly what we're doing, but it's a completely different dynamic than putting power down into a pedal, how you climb, your positioning on a bike, how you're riding the bike, how you're distributing power and all that type of stuff. I think it's way more because that bike is like it's actually in my room right now. Like it's right here.
There it is. Sleep
Oh
right next to it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, this is my like office gaming, whatever area you want to call it.
Your
But
shoe area.
yeah, but I mean like it measures power. So I mean you could definitely get caught up in wanting to be over 200 watts every single ride and being over a certain speed, and you could tell the level of rider who can hold 200 watts at like a zone 2 or zone 3 and be fine, as opposed to me where when I first started, 200 watts would take me to about zone 4, zone 5. Like I'm at 160, 170 beats, but my heart rate's just naturally going to be high no matter what. I can hold that because of what I do, but those guys are conditioned to have very low heart rates over an X amount of distance. Whereas, track runners, it's like we're just like it's just like, all right, get ready to go. You go and you're now carrying your own body weight and putting force down to the track. Completely different ball game. So you can get caught up in the numbers of it, and I did get caught up in the numbers of it
It's
for a
fun.
while. I was trying to get over 1,000 watts, and I finally got it. And my agent goes like, "Yo, man, like, stop chasing these watts. Just like be normal. Like, just ride the bike. Like, you're not a sprinter." And I was just like, "Yeah, you're right. Like, I'm really not." So yeah,
So one of my favorite things to always talk with you about is just, big picture sport. You
yeah.
you had an opportunity to dive into another sport a little bit, talk to some of the top guys domestically about the sport. Any major takeaways of like what should track be learning from cycling after dipping your
Nothing.
toes? Nothing.
I think we're based on the conversations that I've had, we are, and I know everyone loves to complain about, the state of track and field, but we are in a better position than crit racing, like pay grade wise, just across the board, to be honest with you. And it just kind of gave me some perspective, and made me grateful for, you know, being in the position that I'm in right now, as opposed to being a professional. Realistically, like you're not making any real money, like, well, any big money if you're not on the tour and if you're
Mhm.
not a tour team. And I find that to be like crazy because crit racing is so exciting. Like you're on a closed circuit and you're having what, 50, 40, like how many ever people zoom by you going, you know, 25, 30 miles an hour on a bike, and you never know who might eat shit going into a turn. And there's alcohol, there's food, there's music, like, and it's not like you're on the tour where you just see this peloton once and now they're down the road 10 miles and that's it. It's like you're consistently seeing them come through, and you're seeing the race set up, and you're seeing people take lead outs and trying to break away and using strategy. And it's exciting to see, to be honest. And I mean, I think it'll make a great Olympic sport, to be honest with you. But it's just, it kind of falls on the same issues that we have as well. But their issues are on a bigger scale where it's not promoted. And you know the cycling community is huge. It is huge, just like the track community. But for some strange reason, like there's no one wants to put any capital into that, as in addition to track, because it's like, what's the return? Like there's no, what's your ROI at the end of the day? So I mean, like after talking to Justin, like, I mean, we've spent a couple hours on the bike and talking to him about that. Like I hear his frustrations and see the change that he's bringing to crit racing, and seeing the things that he's trying to implement as well too. So it's 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 funny because like he will say certain things, and in my head I'm just like, dude, like I understand, man. Like it's the same with track and field. Like you speak and you have all these great ideas, but sometimes it just feels like it falls on deaf ears. And it's one of those things where things aren't going to change tomorrow, but over time, like it's progressing and getting better. But
I'm happy to hear a different perspective than I was expecting. Like I thought you were going to come in and be like, we got to do XYZ. They got
no,
this
man,
figured
like
out.
it's I think I think one of our issues too is like everyone has an opinion. Like everyone has too many opinions, and some of the opinions, quite frankly, don't make sense. Like I think we need to be realistic and not be imaginative when it comes to track and field. We will never be the NBA. We will never be the NFL. Like it just won't work because of what we're doing. The only thing, like I've said, that we could probably compare our sport to is pro golf, and that's it. But in terms of like everything else, like I understand people have good intentions and mean well, but sometimes it's just like, dude, like you're chat, like that's rubbish, man. Like like what you're saying doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And you could tell some people just get really frustrated and they think that this is supposed to be what it is, but yeah, it's not.
I feel like sometimes people throw out suggestions. And it's like, don't you understand that like the pro athletes sit around all day just thinking about this exact thing? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
how much time have you spent just thinking about what could be better and how you could improve it? And it's like someone who spends 10 seconds thinking about it one time is not going to solve it.
All the time. Like the conversation's constantly being had, whether you're at practice, getting treatment, like it's like, and you see some people have certain takes, and it's just like, dude, like no, like you don't have the answers. Like if you had the answers, we would be listening to you. Like, but it's just yeah. Yeah. And then it also comes down to an ego thing as well too. I think there are a lot of egos in track and field as well too. And yeah, it could be a mess. So, especially like with the whole athlete of the year situation, to be honest with you, like that was interesting. I mean, me personally, I don't really like care about it too much, but I can see I I can't see why they did what they did, to be honest with you. I mean,
It's always something.
yeah, you had a great year, and usually that award goes to one male and one female. So why change it now, and why not make everyone aware that you were changing it? Like it's not
Yeah.
really that, yeah. But
I was saying that there shouldn't even be one male, one female. There should just be one. Like
one
if you can
really,
compare a track athlete to a field athlete to a road athlete, why can't you compare men versus women if we're just doing who had the
so
best year?
who would be your one person that gets it this year
Faith Kipyegon.
because she broke the world record?
She broke multiple world records and won multiple gold. And
Yes.
she, like
Yeah.
this year was about faith. If there's like one
So
storyline that,
if Noah broke the world record in the two, and
yeah, then I think Noah had to get one record,
record,
just one. And then I
yeah,
think because the
yeah,
triple obviously is the triple, but like
yeah,
Faith had the world records and, you know, the double.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I had no argument here, and I love Noah.
yeah, I
So
mean, look, if you go men and women, that's different. But I think you just have one.
yeah, I'm not mad at that either.
Yeah.
To be honest,
All
like
right. I
if you
mean,
want to win, freaking run fast. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and it's just
Yeah.
an
Run
award.
fast, throw far. Yeah,
If anyone can handle losing, it should be a pro athlete.
yeah,
Like I mean, I know Noah was upset about it last year, and look what it did. Like it channeled him to have in his best year yet. So,
yeah,
um, this might who know we might have just awoken a monster. Like,
yeah. Honestly,
that was the plan. That's why they did it.
yeah,
So hopefully we next year, no questions, records in triple. But all right. Last question. Swimming.
yeah.
That's the last piece. You got the running down. I mean, a little short, but now you got the biking. How's your swimming
I
game?
I can swim.
You
I'm,
can. All right.
yeah, I'm a really good swimmer, to be
I
honest
just
with
think you're confident in anything. I could ask like
you.
how's your basketball game?
I had a swimming workout the other day as
Are you
well. So like just to like
are
make
you
everything,
pulling out your speedo? Oh, okay.
I got my goggles here. So I do swim as well too. But that right there, hats off. I have like when people compare sports, I think swimming is one of the hardest sports like in the world.
Yeah.
I know it's low impact, and you can get in the water and swim again the next day. But dude, like if you think about it, just like exerting all your energy in a body of water, and you're holding your breath, and your only opportunity to breathe is when you come up for like probably half a second, and you got to inhale and exhale without like getting any ingesting any water. Like man, like trying not to drown in is it's just hard in itself, and just doing that, and yeah, it's a lot. So I have a lot of respect for people who swim. But um a triathlon's not, I feel like that question is coming, but
I just asked it
I
in
try,
so many
it's
words.
not in my future, man. Like the swimming piece is just, that is just incredibly hard, to
You
be
know,
honest.
I think something that gets confused sometimes is this idea that like, oh, you're a good track athlete, but you're not a good athlete overall. And it feels like sometimes it's like, no, I just happen to be best at this one sport.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I wasn't capable of doing other things. It's
Yeah.
not like not everyone got cut from the soccer team and only had one backup option. Like a lot of times the best athletes had their pick.
Yeah. I mean, like that's
Maybe you
what
got cut. I don't know.
I feel like everyone that I've run into that runs track was good at something else. Like Fred was good at playing basketball, good at playing football. Um, you know, I like I feel like Vernon can play basketball, Cherry can play basketball, Mike can play basketball. Like everyone did something else at one point in their life. And I feel like a lot of like even Marvin Bracy, like he played football.
Even Marvin.
Yeah, Marvin played football. So I feel like we were all really good at other sports, but
Mm-hmm.
like you said, like this just happens to be the one thing that you're really good at.
Yeah.
So
You're like, this one pays the least. I'll do this
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. Let's yeah, let's do the sport that pays the least. I should have played baseball, to be honest.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, can you imagine we get to a point where like that is like track? I mean, maybe we won't get there for the next 100 years, but Just man, 700
It's
and eighty
just deferred. Our
dollars.
money's deferred. That's what's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, did any of the guys text you or anything about the biking? Like, is Fred getting a bike next? Anyone?
Fred's not. Fred has called me a few times while I was on the bike, told me to get off the bike. But, I tried to get Michael to get a bike, and he was just like, "Man, I'm not doing that. Maybe next year, we'll see." But I'm like, it's fun, man. Like once you get on it and you
It's
actually
addicting.
start riding, it's addictive. Like
Yeah.
it is actually, like I'm actually thinking about buying a second bike, to be honest with
You
you.
don't need two bikes.
And I don't need to, but like at the same time, it's like if you buy one, you gotta get it a friend. So why not get it a friend, to be honest with you? But we'll see. Maybe next off season. I what I really want to do is go to like Mallorca and just go freaking cycle there. That's what I really want to do in my off season. But we'll see how things go and if I can get a group of guys to go with me because I feel like that'd be a lot of freaking fun. But
You can get invited to like Girona or something where all the tour
yeah, yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They yeah, so yeah, Justin and them they went to Girona as well earlier. Well, a couple weeks ago actually. So
yeah, it's the
be
spot.
cool to like actually have the time to go do that. But Olympics and then we have what Worlds again next year. So well,
Nonstop.
World after next year, so it's just nonstop. So
Hey, soon enough, you put in your 2, 3 years,
yeah,
you prove yourself out.
yeah. After I'm done, I already decided like I'm getting on a crit. Seriously,
That's awesome. How's your bike handling? Good.
it is pretty good. It's
Cool.
pretty good so far.
You need it
So
there.
yeah, I mean, I was always good on a bike, but like this kind of bike is just like a low wind blows and you'll go sideways. Trust me. Like it was windy out here because it's all carbon fibers, so it's not. You're not really getting much weight support from these bikes because they're super light. But I feel like my bike handling skills are really good.
I feel like just having this conversation now, you're like going out tomorrow.
I'm actually going out on Christmas Day.
Oh, that's nice.
Go for a Christmas ride.
Good to stay in LA.
Yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
going early. It's Christmas morning, so there'll be no traffic. So probably hit PCH with a couple of the guys and send it and come back.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for taking time to chat cycling. A little too cold right now in New York, so glad you're staying there to do it.
It is, but thank you, man.